Down South. I'm your host, Ted Turner. I'm here with my buddy Rich Man, and we are live. Little summer show. What's up, Rich Man? How's your night going?
Good, man. Good.
We are on a new platform tonight, so as they like to say, pardon our dust. So we may could be fighting through some issues, but we're gonna fight through it like we're not. So, Rich Man, how's it going, man? Down there in, or I should say, up there in the North Georgia area. How's the weather up there? Start of
The
summer.
weather's been fantastic last 3 days. It's light humidity, just the way I like
Light
it.
light humidity.
Yep.
What does that look like? Light humidity,
That
bro.
looks like me riding around with my windows down.
Okay, all right, I'm with that.
Because when
I'm
there's
with
a lot
that.
of humidity, I'm riding around with the windows up.
That's crazy, man. We are live tonight on Facebook, Dogs Down South. We're also live on TikTok, and I am floating. I'm trying my best right now to float over there and kind of see what's going on in the TikTok world. Dogs Down South. They do this whole gimmicky thing of where you got to go over here and look at your chat in another area. I don't know. There's another way to just con us or something like that. I don't know. But let's hop right in, man. So obviously, Rich Man, we are finding content for the summer. We're getting ready to do our big SEC preview. But I thought it would be cool before we do that to kind of catch everybody up. SEC meetings just happened in Destin, Florida. So that was pretty cool. Man, Paul Feinbaum was the talk. Apparently, Paul Feinbaum, excuse me, Paul Feinbaum and Kirby were the talk of the town, and it was a lot because of the fact of their interview. Did you catch their interview at SEC
No,
meetings?
I missed that.
You were really blurry. It's wild. I don't know why. Maybe because the back of the screen, you look like you're almost like a huge blur. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Uh, Paul talked about how he feels Georgia is in trouble this year. He said he was actually on the scene with Kirby, and the comment that was made was um, that this season Gunner was going to be somebody that at QB1 could possibly um, be a setback for Georgia. That Gunner might not be the guy this year for Georgia, so he's concerned. His quote was, "Stockton at QB1." Um, he said, "I've seen it and I'm concerned." What do you think about that comment that Feinbaum said? I mean, I don't think Feinbaum's ever been a huge Georgia like. I don't know. Like I'm totally for Georgia. What do you think about that comment?
Dude, I think Feinbaum's got more hair than brains. I
That
think
ain't got
it's
much hair, bro.
I think that's manufactured content. He just needs something to talk about. He's stirring the pot.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, why didn't he say the offensive line? I mean, after last year, I'd I'd be more worried about the offensive line than QB play.
yeah. I mean, I
I mean,
think
if we had offensive line play, Gunner would have looked like $1 million when he beat Notre Dame, but that didn't happen.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Gunner
Paul
wasn't
has
the reason
known
we
to be.
lost that game. You know,
Yeah, Paul's known to be controversial, man. Like you said, he likes to kind of throw some things out there in the water, and I think at the end of the day that um, you know he's just trying to bait some things. I mean, he starts with the quarterbacks. Apparently, him and Lane had a pretty interesting interview as well. But Kirby said it. He said, he said, I had I went on the record about Gunnar Stockton, and Kirby quickly said, "Oh, I've seen it," and it got really awkward for a minute there. In other words, like I think sometimes people don't think Kirby um, sees a lot of that stuff. I don't know if he watches it for a long period of time, but I think he sees it.
he's
Um,
got somebody feeding him headlines and
right,
content. He doesn't have time to read all the
right.
script.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Do you think? Here's my thing though. Like, and I know a lot of dog fans are live on TikTok. What's up, everyone? If you're popping in, make sure you share the live, and if you're on, say hello. Love to know this is your first time checking out the podcast. We're running through this little rough draft with a new platform we're running through. So bear with us, deal with our dust tonight. But do you think, I mean, what do you think about that? You know, I've never, Paul Feinbaum also in the years where he was bandwagoning Alabama, he also was a closet like big time Bama fan, right? He was obviously he loved Saban. He loved, uh, I think he loved Saban because it was the only person next to, you know, I don't even say probably the only person next to him that had a little bit more hair than him, and they kind of were equal in that area, but not on the others.
Yeah,
But I've always known Paul to just kind of just drive the anchor in, to stir the pot early on in the year to give himself content for the rest of the year. But I feel like we didn't have that controversy going on this year at Alabama, even though it's kind of hidden because of their last year's blunders. But I do think when you look at Paul and what he looks at when it comes to the criteria of SEC, he does talk about the quarterbacks a lot. Why do you think he's saying that about Gunner though? Like, what do you think? You thinking he's going off of one clip and one clip alone, and that's his little short take of Notre Dame.
dude, I think he's just trying to create content and stir it up. I mean, look, Feinbaum got what made Feinbaum was bringing on rednecks from Alabama that had a IQ of about 80 to 90, and that's what made him. And now the SEC's changed. Now he's got to transform himself. So he's scratching for content, man.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, he got into it with Lane Kiffin a little bit too, and I mean, it it has not been a light topic for a lot of people. Um, as far as Lane Kiffin, I mean, you've heard things like Lane Whiffen. You've heard things about Lane complaining about, we need a sixth spot or some guaranteed spots in the college football playoff. And it wouldn't be because, he, you know, Ole Miss didn't blow it last year and not get into the playoff. I mean, and go 5-3 in the SEC. But but Lane's a big time. Kirby's a kind of a dodger, but Lane's a big time. Like he'll work around it. Like he immediately went to, is this going to be another year of, me and you going back and forth, and you always getting the word, but me never getting a word on your show type thing. Um, but Lane kind of cut it out for himself this year. Although a lot of people have Ole Miss right back in the mix this year, and not because of their roster, but because of their schedule. So, but I agree with you. I mean, I think if we could look at it, somebody said the Paul Feinbaum show is the Jerry Springer of college football networks, right?
I like it.
I think that could be very, 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 very true in some ways. I mean, I think Paul tries. I think he wants to get the controversy going. He calls those guests on, and He wants them to bicker it out and fight and go at it and so forth and so on. But I would say, and I'll pose these questions. This is why I think Paul is talking about Gunner in this way. Number one, I think when you look at Gunner, um, he's not Carson Beck, right? And I know we've talked a lot about Carson in the past, and we don't really want to bring him up in the future. But when we do look at that, Rich man, like, don't you think that like Carson Beck is an easy target to go? This is why Georgia can be successful, because there was so much talk before the injury about how Carson Beck was going to be in the league this year, 5-star talent, 4-star talent with 5-star projections now. He had just a lot of good things going for him, and he was supposed to take Georgia to the promised land, and he didn't. But that's kind of the story that Paul likes to hop on early on to get the naysayers to go, hey, like look what Georgia got going on. But with Gunner, this is something that if he gets behind, I think if he's a betting man, he doesn't get behind this, and he doesn't feel too good about it. But the whys are maybe because what? Poor offensive line play. Would you agree that, not saying anything about the offensive line, he thinks that the offensive line might overcome those problems this year? Like, do you feel like Paul's seeing the I don't know, the silver lining of the offensive line this year?
No, I don't think he's looking at it that seriously. I think he's low hanging fruit. and like you said, he likes to talk about quarterbacks. Um, I don't really I don't see him as an analyst, man.
Right.
The Jerry Springer thing makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
He loves to get. I mean, if you I've tried to watch his show and I can't follow through. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, the serious content and serious analysis is minute with him,
Right.
and I think he's more into the controversy,
Right.
and so that's what he's looking for. I,
Right. Yeah. No. I
I mean,
I agree.
we've analyzed Carson and Gunner. I mean, Gunner's got some intangibles, and
Right.
those intangibles we think are going to equate to some winning. And we think some of those intangibles that Beck was missing is what hurt him and the team last year. So,
Yeah.
and
Speaking of that, and I don't have this on the screen. I think I shared this with you, but kind of talking about Carson, we weren't going to bring him we weren't going to bring him up much this year, but wanted to take a stab at this. Mario Cristobal went on an interview with On Three, and he talked about a little bit about Gunner. I'm sorry, a little bit about Carson, and they asked him like, why did you take Carson back? Like, why now? Like, you're coming off of a year where, this kind of looks like Miami reaching, right? Because you just come off a year where you had Cam Ward, you went out and you grabbed him out of the portal. But then you lose him, and then you immediately go back out in the portal and you grab another prospect from another team. That I don't think Cam Ward failed at Washington State. I just think he came for more money, right? And I know you mentioned something before we even read this article about, you felt like Carson was always a guy who was a little less blue collar and a little more, I guess, Miami swaggish type thing. But, he said
seasoned.
he's a highly skilled guy. I'm I'm gonna have a hard time reading this. He's a highly skilled guy, and we feel we're getting the best version of him. We feel we can protect him. I think that was a jab at Georgia right there. Here's some bulletin board material. I think we feel like we can protect him really well. Is that saying that Georgia didn't, and that's why he wasn't successful? Who knows? And we feel what we do offensively, so much of our stuff is NFL oriented. Is that another jab? Like, is that another like jab towards what is Georgia doing on the offensive side of the ball as it relates to protection, our play action game, our quick game, and our intermediate stuff? He fits it perfectly. He said to Beck, he'll be surrounded by some really talented skill guys. Is that another jab? Like, I know we went out there this year and we kind of re-upped our offensive some things going on in the wide receiver room, things of that nature. Here's another one. We run the ball really well, I believe. And third in the country last year in yards per carry, and that opens up things differently. So I'm just reading this article and I'm like, man, like, sounds like to me 4 jabs at
Yep.
Georgia, right? And
Oh yeah.
don't get me wrong, like, Georgia fans can hop on here and say, well, are some of those true? Maybe, but I don't know if you can blame Carson Beck's success last year because of the fact that we didn't run the ball. We didn't. You can't just. I mean, he basically pinned it on the offensive coordinator and the lack of offensive production running the ball and blocking. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, do you think that was Carson's problem? I mean, we talked about a lot of things, and this is a new article to me. And for some Georgia fans, it could be a side of like, oh well, this is a little bit different tilt. Like, was it the
Well,
inability to run the?
I said a long time ago. I said early in the season, with all the drops, um, I think that really freaked Carson out. I think he had a hard time coping with that. I think it got in his head, and he because it got in his head, it exacerbated the situation. And you know, look, you take half of those drops and turn them into receptions. Forget our iffy offensive line play here and there, and our running game. We probably would have been sitting at playing for a national championship.
Right, right.
You know, but
Yeah, it was
just
to me. It was just very like it's kind of the first time he's come out and talked about Carson. He hasn't mentioned a lot about him. There's been videos going around about him throwing things of that nature, but I just kind of found it weird that he hopped right into we feel like we can protect him. We feel like our offense is a better fit for him. We feel like we can run the football. Like, geez,
Oh,
man, like
he's definitely taking swings at us for
I
sure.
agree. I totally agree. But I mean, like,
But hey, he's got a season ahead of him, and he's going to have an opportunity to get in the playoffs. And let's see what you can do.
right. Yeah, it was just big words from Cristobal because I've I don't know, man. If you can't get it done with Cam Ward, I mean, Cam Ward was the. Do you think? Here's another thing. This is probably going to be a talk of the town, but do you think Carson Beck is? I mean, Cam Ward went first. Do you think Carson Beck could have a first round? I don't even say first round, but a first pick off the board
Carson
type
Beck
season.
he'll have to win the ACC and get in the playoffs and have a strong showing to go first round.
Yeah,
So the ball's in his court. Just go do it.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, but I found it really entertaining that Cristobal kind of just drew out those three or four things. Moving on, some hot topic stuff. Ryan Mosley last week, new addition. Also, so Ryan Mosley's out of Carrollton High School. We're seeing a trend, Rich man, of four and five stars wide receivers. Are we finally seeing this wide receiver room like at Georgia? Are we finally seeing that we need to take this position seriously? Like a lot of people can give Coley a lot of the credit for coming in and recruiting the wide receiver room better, but like, is this a turn for the good? Like, are we finally going to see this as a position we take seriously?
Well, I'm hoping that it's a turn where these top rated recruit receivers take us seriously, and
Yeah,
because and also I mean we're getting a lot of interesting quarterbacks. Um, so
yeah. I mean, a lot of it could be, Jared Curtis. I mean, maybe. I mean, I will say that. I mean, we talked a little bit about Jackson Cantwell, and we thought that he was going to follow, Curtis, but he didn't. But I think a lot of times when you get that guy off of the list early, then he becomes your biggest recruiter, right?
yep, yep.
Um, how big was that to get Curtis? I mean, Ryan Mosley was. I mean, it's not that we weren't recruiting Ryan Mosley, but like he was just a guy out there going. I have three or four different options. Obviously,
Right.
in-state is one. Carrollton's a very high, you know, a high impact program in the state of Georgia. I mean, their football coach makes north of $200,000 a year, so Carrollton's not playing no games.
Right.
So, I mean, what a Mosley signing is huge on top of the past signing class. So it's just one of those things where you look at our wide receiver room and you look at do you think it's been the lack of taking it seriously? Because I would tell you that in the last few years, I mean, I don't know, man. Like we've been excited about the wide receiver room, but have we really been as excited about the wide receiver room as this year as we have when say the AJ Greens were around? I mean, I remember getting excited about some names, and I think we just got excited about them because they were 3 and 4 star athletes. I remember Muhammad Massaquoi. I remember those names, and we were like, oh, like he's incredible. But it's like, yeah, man, he was like the 28th wide receiver. And nothing against him. I'm just pulling a name, but like we're getting some top tier names, and that's got a lot to do with Coley. But is it because now I think Georgia's finally seeing that what happens when the inability of running the football does occur. And we know this is in the SEC. It's very dominant as far as defensive play,
I don't know if it's
linebackers,
just
and
much about the running back room. I think I think you win national championships back to back, and you hear these professional coaches say over and over again that the guys that are coming from UGA are ready to play. The guys that are coming from UGA are ready to play.
yeah,
I think eventually that begins to resonate with kids that can look past the easy money and look for a career. If the
yeah.
kids are serious about a career, I think I just think that it's beginning.
I think I lost you for a second. Are you back?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last thing you said was beginning to be serious. Kids are beginning to be serious.
Right. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of these recruits are beginning to take us serious,
Yeah.
and
No, I
I
agree.
think it's a myriad of things. You know, winning championships, preparing the guys for the pros, and they still can make good money here at Georgia.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I think too. I mean, Mosley was one of them, and then I mean, I know I saw. I think late last week, Carter Lucky, four-star defensive lineman from Norcross, big 6'5", 265-pound kid. You might recognize that last name. That's Lawson Lucky's younger brother, commits to Georgia as well. And these guys are four and five star, like, graded out players, depending on which site you go to. But I just think the wide receiver. Remember, don't get me wrong. We're hitting on all four cylinders in a lot of different areas, but wide receiver is something now. Like you said, it's just. I think you can take Georgia a little bit serious now, more serious now, and hopefully this year. I mean, we're going to talk about it in our previews, but when we break down what this receiver room looks like and what our entire outlook looks like this year from top to bottom. Like I think it's pretty impressive what we've done in the wide receiver area this year, as far as that. So Richman, before we hop into we're going to talk a little bit over and under SEC win totals this year. We're going to do a little, just what we think may happen before we get into our big SEC preview over the summer. But what is this new? Obviously, we got a ruling from the College Football Playoff Committee that this year there'll be a new format, and no longer will the winner of the SEC, ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, they will no longer they will no longer just get an automatic bid or an automatic placement because of they won their league. It's now going to be the final rankings of 1 to 12 will be how you're basically ranked. Now that's huge in some reasons, because we all know that some of these schools that got home games last year and did it really pay off for these, the SEC champion or the Big Ten champion. You look at it, a lot of those guys lost in the second round from either from sitting out that first game or the fact that they're playing on the road the first time. I mean, you name it. But with this seeding, like, where does this put conference championships? Like, is it even really worth it anymore?
Exactly. They're going to go by the wayside. I and I would think they're going to go by the wayside because the conference championships just more wear and tear before you get into the playoffs, and uh, teams who can afford that. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a team say, "Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. We're not coming. We'll just sit with our record where we're at right now."
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you see them just about fold up and not show up for bowl games now. So
Yeah, and what if, I mean, I don't know, like, what if I mean, the SEC is daunting, right? I mean, it's a daunting schedule. Like, what if I am, let's just say, what if it's just we just hang a bunch of L's this year in the SEC? And as we start to track these schedules, we're going to get into these over and unders here soon. But, like, what if a 8-win, 7-win Texas A&M or something is sitting there, and they're like, somehow they scurry into, they got 3 losses and they're not one of the top teams in the top 12, but they go to the SEC championship, and if they lose that game, they're out.
that's right. Yeah,
So
who wants to be there?
right. So now we've opened up the avenue of where bowl games used to be something that were overlooked, or still are in some occasions. Now we're looking at, like, conference championships. I mean, you hear Kirby all the time. He's like, conference championships are the first thing that we talk about, right? And now it's like, is it? I mean, because
I mean,
you're talking about
literally.
expanding playoffs. You're talking about going to 16 teams. Like,
I mean, literally, your conference championship now is going to be like before we had the conference championship. It was based on your record.
right. And I mean, the BCS. I mean, remember, I mean, nah, the BCS. I mean, kind of the BCS era when, like, back in the day, like the BCS era, you couldn't lose. Didn't matter who you played, you couldn't lose. And it was like, for me, like it was like get out of the conference. I used to look at Notre Dame and all of them and be like, okay, yeah, I see now. But now they get to fight this fight of, oh well, you know, we're independent, we're Notre Dame, we can get in, and it's getting more and more weird, and we're having to do these things like, Sankey's coming on and he's, fighting for four guaranteed spots in the playoffs. And the Big Ten's like, we want four guaranteed spots. And then of course everybody else out there is like, well, that's fine. If the Big Ten and the SEC get 8 spots, then we need to open up to 16 teams, and you need to give three to the Big 12, and 3 to the ACC. And the ACC is like, what about us? And then you got the Mountain West, and it's just like when you start looking at it, it's just like, is it really a playoff system of the best 12 to 16 teams?
Right.
So weird,
Going to be interesting.
very weird, and
I think over the next 4 or 5 years, you'll see conference championship disappear, maybe even quicker than 4 years.
right, yeah, I totally agree. Um, it's going to be interesting, and I listened to a couple of podcasts just talking already about, like, and we're going to get into it a little bit here. Brush the cover, because I really like that we take our time over the summer when we get to hang out and we really break down what is each. We get a chance to kind of step outside of the Georgia, football talk, and really hop into the SEC and go, hey, what are we looking at Florida? What are we looking at Texas A&M and Texas? Like, what are they bringing into the mix, and what can we expect? But when you look at 1 through 12, there's a lot of things that can occur, and it could open the SEC up for it to do a lot more damage. I mean, I'll tell you, like Georgia, Texas, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, um, South Carolina. I mean, these are all teams that, I mean, if things fell right, there's a chance that the SEC could get 6 teams into the playoff this year if they wanted to look at it that way. Because I think there's some teams that are just going to be really, really good. I think that some teams are going to be okay, but their schedules are very favoring. And we've said this for time and time. I mean, between Ole Miss, they're going to play LSU and they're going to play Georgia. If they get 2 losses, I mean, they're in.
Right.
As long as they take care of business, they're in. I think you got Missouri, who plays Alabama, and I think they play South Carolina. And I can go back and look, but if Missouri goes 10-2, like, is Missouri in?
Right.
Their record says they can be. So be very interesting. Matter of fact, let's hop right in. The thing about the big thing about this tonight, Richmond, is we don't have a lot of schedules to pull up and down. I'm going to do my best to kind of sidebar and look at some of these schedules as we speak, but we're going to hop in from the top to the bottom. And so let's hop right in where I think the over and under, and you can tell me, Rich Man, do you agree or disagree?
Hey, I got a question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is our linebacker play really going to be suspect?
You heard that too? I've heard.
I just cannot. I can't fathom that.
I've heard multiple people say they've used questionable and they've also used thin at that position, and so I think did I also put that in the notes? Yeah, oh, here we go. Anonymous SEC coach says, yeah, thin at linebacker this year. I wonder who that was, man. Who, if you had to guess, who would you think that was?
Kiffin. If it was anonymous, Kiffin.
The thing is Kiffin and Kirby have a good relationship. So
yeah, but he loves messing with Kirby.
Yeah,
that would be a good way to mess with Kirby and get that defense wound up like a hornet's nest.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I've heard a lot of people say they're automatically counting that Ole Miss game as not even close in Athens, because I think that was the turning point last year of, I think that's what overhyped Ole Miss. And I do think that that Georgia game was Ole Miss's Super Bowl. I think it was their Super Bowl. I think that Ole Miss prepared for Georgia every single day of the week. I mean, you go back to that podcast we hopped on after the Georgia loss, and Kiffin was like, we did Georgia once a day, every day. So there was some part of our
He said
practice.
for a year they'd been planning that. They started that planning that a year ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a massacre.
yeah. I I totally agree. It's gonna be a weird year. Let's hop in real quick. So we're looking at 2025. So Rich man, I at the bottom of the barrel, I got Mississippi State this year. I think this could be a rough year again. I think even the first four games for Mississippi State could be really, really telling. I, I I don't have them pick once they get into SEC play. I don't have them pick to win an SEC game. When you look at their SEC schedule, Richmond, you got. If I can move this screen a little bit here, let's see here. Let me get this right. Here we go. So I got Tennessee. I got Tennessee at home, Texas A&M in College Station. I got Florida in Gainesville, Texas at home, Arkansas there. I got Georgia at home, Missouri in Columbia, and Ole Miss at home. I mean, do you see Mississippi State winning any of those SEC games?
No, unless they miraculously jump on Arkansas, and I don't.
Arkansas might be one. I could say that might be winnable in that whole scenario. But here's the scary part, Rich man, is the first four games of the year are going to tell a lot. And a lot of people have said. I even heard cousin Shane from that SEC podcast hop on, and he talked about he thinks there's going to be no coaches that lose their job this year. That's his hot take. Um, but the first four games are going to tell a lot because Southern Miss is much improved. Arizona State, we know Arizona State lost a little bit, but they're getting their quarterback back this year, who was really good last year. Um, I got them at 2.5, and 2.5 wins for me is exactly what you're saying. I think they're going to beat Alcorn. I think they're going to beat. It's crazy to even see this, right? I think they're going to beat Northern Illinois, and I think their up in the air game would be Arkansas. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree with that.
So 2.5 is all stemming on them beating Arkansas.
That's tough, man. Whew.
And I mean, you got to think about this: like how short, long is that leash for Levy? I mean, yeah, Levy's an incredible offensive mind, but uh,
Well, I
I mean,
think what you're going to see, I think you're going to see this revolving door for coaches is going to stop because they can't afford it.
yeah,
They got to put so much money in players now. They can't afford to be paying five coaches, uh, and four of them are have been fired. you
right,
know,
right,
i.e., Auburn.
yeah, and that's a hot take. A lot of people are saying that this is Hugh Freeze's year to kind of make a recovery at Auburn, and we can talk about it. So we both agree. We think that the swing game is going to be Mississippi State. Uh, the swing game is going to be Arkansas, whether they get those 2.5 over and under. I mean, between me and you, I don't think they're going to beat Southern Miss. It's in Hattiesburg as well. I mean, that's a home game for Southern Miss. I don't know, man. And you look at Zach Arnett, who was at Mississippi State before, who they got out of there, who succeeded, the Pirate. And you look at him, and like he was almost too much defense, and no offensive productivity. What I'm finding with Levy is we got a pretty good amount of offense, but the defense is just lacking. Like we just can't find that happy medium. We went defense, we went Levy, and we knew we were going to get a lot of offense, but at the end of the day, like neither one's panning out. I think we're seeing money. I think we're seeing talent catch up with Mississippi State.
Yeah,
which is brutal for them. I got Kentucky next. Kentucky's an interesting story because, with that being said, a lot of people are saying this is still a year that Stoops finds a way to hang around. Why? Because, like you said, college coaches are becoming. You can't mix college coaches in there with NIL. It's almost becoming like the NFL. It's like, well, if I go out and get this coach this year, do I have any money to get players? Or I'll never forget when who was the guy from Denver? He was traded to Denver, was at New Orleans. I forget his name. He's with Denver now. Sean,
Sean, golly.
you know what I'm talking about, though. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, you got to finally see in my lifetime, you got to finally see, um, trades involving coaches, and the fact that between him and Russell Wilson, like, Denver had a depleted um, draft pool for a while. It worked in their favor because I think they're on the right track now. I don't think they took too many steps back, but it's weird. But with these college coaches, like, you know, either you're going to do one or two things. Either you're going to see them taking less stabs at big contracts with coaches and more chances, or you're going to see them hanging on to these coaches for a lot longer because, like, can you agree, Rich man? Like, is it the coaches or is it just we're not pouring enough money in to buy the right team? Because like we're talking about Stoops right here at Kentucky. Like, if you think you bought the right team for Stoops, you think he can go win it all?
Well, I think talent. I think talent makes coaching. You know, if Herschel Walker hadn't have come across the campus at UGA, Dooley might have been a 7-3, 8-2 kind of coach.
Yeah, but I do think Billy Napier, no matter how much you give him, can screw it up. And this is a year where I would look at him and go, he's a really great recruiter, but we're gonna find out what his X's and O's are like this year because it's gonna be interesting. So Kentucky, I got over under 4. I think their wins come versus Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Tennessee Tech, and it's a coin flip between if they can get one against Vanderbilt or Louisville.
Wow.
But I think it's a strong 4 with Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Tennessee Tech, and Louisville. Man, that's a crosstown rival type game. Uh, I got them at 4. I mean, agree or disagree? I think. Do you agree that it falls on Vanderbilt? I don't see them beating Florida, Auburn, Tennessee. Although Tennessee lost Nico, I just don't see him beating Tennessee. I mean, I don't see it. Texas is a no. Georgia's a no. South Carolina's a no. But what do you think? Over under 4?
Yeah, that's terrible looking too for Kentucky.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the last few years, it's been more of Stoops under underplaying that schedule, right? I mean, he's supposed to get 8 wins, and he gets like 4 or 5. So um, I think it's definitely a year to solidly look at the 4 or under. You know,
Yeah,
um, but for me, like, I would say you got 3 there, and scarily enough for Kentucky, I would say it might be safer to take the under because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they. I don't. I mean, I think Pavi is going to have a good year at Vanderbilt again. I mean, I think they're going to be as good as they were last year at minimum. And then you got to wonder if Louisville's a win. I don't want to stay too long in Kentucky, but there could be a world where you could see Kentucky with only 3 wins, and that's with no SEC wins. I don't think if Stoops. I mean, I've heard that Stoops gets another year this year. I don't. That's a big hot take, but if if Kentucky doesn't win an SEC game, I cannot see them hanging on to Bob Stoops. I'm sorry, to Mark Stoops. Called him his brother. I mean, do you agree or disagree? Or I don't like Stoops, by the way.
that'll
Fish
be
knows this,
interesting to
but
see how that plays. Because when you start see, you got to see where the money's going to go. Do they have money for players or do they have money for the coach? Because I don't know, they're going to have a lot of money for both at Kentucky, right?
yeah, no, I can see a world where Kentucky doesn't win an SEC game, and that's just not okay at Kentucky because regardless of what you want to say about, I mean, Kentucky's doing really well in baseball now, obviously doing well in basketball, and I don't know, man. I mean, you've hung on to Stoops, you've hung on to Stoops. I mean, he's just had a problem putting a season together. Like they've given him money, they've upped his budget, his NIL. He goes and he grabs some people, but it just seems like every year he just finds a way to screw it up per
Right.
se. Next team I got in there is Arkansas. I got them at 4.5. A lot of people said this is Sam Pittman's last year too. They see Pittman as the first guy out. Now, the reason why I say that is because Arkansas has an interesting first 5 games. You got Alabama and A&M, then you got Arkansas State, who we all know is a very much improved football team under Butch Jones. You get Ole Miss, that's on the road. Memphis, we all know that Memphis is a much better team. And then you get Notre Dame in Fayetteville.
Ooh.
Um, if Arkansas State and Memphis do a really good job and one of them pulls an upset, like before we ever get into SEC play, Rich, man, we could be looking at a 2-5. I mean, I'm sorry, a 2-3 team. And Richmond, if it got really weird, we could be looking at a 1-4 team. And a 1-4 team before they start SEC play,
Oh my gosh.
I don't think Sam Pittman survives that. I mean, do you agree, disagree?
I agree.
I mean, the rest of the year, you got Tennessee and Knoxville, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas, Missouri. Like, yeah, I mean, Taylor Green is a good quarterback. And I think year 2 of him and Bobby Petrino, I can see that happening. But Pittman I could see this as 4.5, or you could see it as Taylor Green and Bobby Petrino just come out all guns a-blazing. The defense gets things right. They can block, which is hard to look to because Sam Pittman is a huge offensive line guy. But,
His
I
offensive
mean,
line play has not been the best.
I agree with that.
It's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know if he just can't recruit them there or what, but
I think at the end of the day, like Petrino and Taylor Green are going to have to bail this team out. Now, I can see them going 6-6 and being okay and going to a bowl and then, maybe letting Pittman finish the year out. But I don't know. Two
it's
and
going to be an
three,
interesting one to watch this year. That's for sure.
I think 1-4 he's gone. I think 2-3 he's gone because I just don't know. Like I got him at 4.5, so I'm
I think
saying
they've
that.
already positioned Petrino to take his place. What do you think?
Oof, man, depends on what his psych evaluations look like in these meetings they're having with him. And so, I mean, Alabama and A&M's a win. Arkansas State, oh man, it's at home. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. They got to go to Arkansas State. Let's just say it's a win, man, because it's got to be. Because I think Ole Miss is a loss. There's 2-1. Worst case scenario, I mean, they're 3-2 coming out of this. I mean, best case scenario, they're 3-2. They're 3-2. Let's say they get their 3 wins there. Tennessee, they got to go to Knoxville. Maybe that's their 4th. I don't know. I don't see them beating Texas A&M. Auburn's in Fayetteville. For the sake of Auburn this year, I think you got to say that that's a win for Auburn. Mississippi State's a win. LSU's a loss. Texas is a loss. Missouri in Fayetteville. Depends on if this Bo Publini guy, or I forget his name, but it depends on what he pans out at quarterback. 4.5. I mean, I think you get Alabama A&M, you get Arkansas State, you get Mississippi State as your 3rd, and your toss-ups are Memphis, Missouri. So this very well could go under. If it goes under, Sam Pittman loses his job. But let's move on. Oklahoma. A lot of promise from Oklahoma this year. We're going to preview them, so not to get much to it. Obviously, John Mateer comes over from Washington State. They bring the offensive coordinator from Washington State. So now, Brett Venables has his offense, right, to go along with his great defensive mind. This is Brett Venables going, this is my job. This is everything. It's time to put it all on the line. The only thing I would tell you is Oklahoma has a schedule that just presents a lot of problems. Um, I got 5.5. I think their wins. Illinois State's a win. They got Michigan coming to town. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the Michigan of last year, yeah, but you got to wonder if Michigan gets it together for year two. I think Temple's a win. I think Kent State's a win. Uh, I think after that it gets weird, really weird. The Auburn game at home is a game that you're going to have to take. Tennessee without Nico in Knoxville. Once again, it's in Knoxville, so it might be a win. I don't know. This kid, we're going to preview Tennessee, but this also could be. There's so much hype around Oklahoma, but look at the schedule, man. Like with this new offense, and you haven't seen it really yet. South Carolina is a new Lenore Sellers led South Carolina team. This was almost a South Carolina team that almost made a playoff last year. I mean, where are you at with 5.5 wins for Oklahoma?
Dude, I'm gonna
More?
enjoy that. 5 or 6 wins at Oklahoma. That's gonna be enjoy. I'm gonna enjoy that because
Well,
that
here's the
fan base
here's
is
the question,
crazy.
Rich man. If 5.5 is 6.5 might be very, like gracious, but does Venables survive 6.5?
Looks like Texas finagled this schedule on these guys to get rid of Venables for the long term. That's
I
probably the
mean,
deal coming in to the SEC
I agree with that.
because
I agree with that.
they sure negotiated a cakewalk.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I don't know 5.5 or 6.5, but I'm just telling you that they're not the games I really feel good about them not winning. I don't think they're going to beat. I don't think they're going to beat Alabama. I don't think they're going to beat LSU. I don't think they're going to beat Ole Miss. I don't think they're going to beat South Carolina. I don't think they're going to beat Texas, and I don't think they're going to beat Auburn. Um,
Dude,
I think the
Texas
toss up would be between Michigan and Auburn. You get Michigan and Norman. You get Auburn and Norman. That's that's
Texas is
the
going to be laying for them this year
yeah.
after last year.
So I mean, I think 5.5. I mean, over under. Like, what do you think? You think that 5.5 is gracious, or do you think 5.5 is about right where they need to be?
I think it's about right.
So that means they got to get Illinois State, they got to get Temple, they got to get Kent State, and from there they got to pull some. They got to pull 3 wins somewhere from LSU, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas, or Auburn, and Michigan. So it's hard. It's just a hard year for Oklahoma. I mean, I know Venables is making all the stabs, and this is an Oklahoma team who beat Alabama last year. So but also an Oklahoma team, who was a couple of points away from probably going from where they were at to an 8-4, 9-3 team. Next up, Vanderbilt. I got them right at 5.5 again. Not much to talk about with Vanderbilt. Obviously, Pavia is coming back. They were able to keep a little bit of the core of their team together. Charleston Southern sounds like a win. Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, man. In Blacksburg will be interesting. South Carolina, I think Georgia State's a win. That's their second one. I think Utah State's a win is their third. I think Kentucky is their fourth. And I'm banking on them maybe grabbing one from Missouri or I mean, you just think
Dude,
right,
I think
Pavia.
five. I think 5.5 is generous because Pavia he snuck up on people last year. Nobody was expecting that. This year they're gonna be ready for this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that with what they've lost, how do they reload? Um, I'm I'm thinking that it's gonna be a tough season for them.
Yeah, I think 5.5 is generous. I mean, when you look at it, like the games that they got to win, Alabama's in Tuscaloosa. That's got revenge factor written all over it. LSU is in Nashville, but I like LSU this year. I think this is playoff or bust for LSU. We'll talk about them in a second, but
Yeah,
you got Missouri and Nashville. I don't know. Is that your deciding factor? Because I don't think you're going to get Texas. I know you're not going to get Texas. Auburn in Nashville. I mean, man, I can see that being a game right there, smack dab in the middle of like, is that where Auburn is either coming off a couple of bad losses or a couple of really great wins? And
Yeah. Are
it's
they
like,
building momentum or are they licking their wounds?
exactly, exactly. And then I got Kentucky. It's generous. 5.5 is generous, but I could easily see wins. I mean, who's Virginia Tech? Like, I don't know who Virginia Tech really is. Best case scenario, you got to go to Blacksburg, but is Blacksburg still Blacksburg? Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech's a win. Georgia State's a win. Utah State's a win. I think Kentucky's a win. That's your 5,
Well,
and then you got to
Georgia
figure
State
out your.
beat them last year, so
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they're going to beat them this year. Not in Nashville. You know, last year was weird that they went to Georgia State. That's the first time in a long time I've seen an SEC team go into a place like Georgia State and lose the game. Better yet, lose them away. You know, I mean, don't they play in like the old Olympic Stadium in Atlanta? Like, it's crazy, man. What's that field called? Do we even know?
I went to school there. I don't even know.
Is it the Dan Reeves? Like, forgive me, Dan, but geez, gracious 5.5. Florida, I have them here, man. This is controversial. I know. If I have any Florida fans hopping on TikTok or anybody listening right now, it's gonna be a little controversial. The schedule, the schedule for Florida is tricky, very tricky. Man, but when you can find teams like Long Island to open up with, I didn't even know Long Island had a football team.
I didn't either.
A matter of fact, now that I look at this, I don't. Is this a joke? I didn't even know they play Long Island. Long Island, South Florida, LSU, Miami, Texas, Texas A&M in College Station, Mississippi State in Gainesville, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. Wow, right? Wow. This is why it could be 6.5, or it could be 4, or it could be 8, 9. I mean, DJ Lagway is going to be good this year. I think DJ Lagway is going to be really good. I think they're going to have a good offense, all depending on what patchwork they've done to the offensive line, the defense, whether they're extra successful this year. But 6.5 means they're going to have to get Long Island. I think they'll be okay. I think USF's at home. I would call that game a little different if it was away, but I think USF's a win. Mississippi State's a win. I think Kentucky's a win. I think Tennessee is always tough, man. You notice they moved that Tennessee game to the end of the year. That used to be the 4th or 5th game of the year, and that used to make or break. I felt like it made or broke Florida or Tennessee right there at the beginning of the year. But they've moved that game. And then Florida State, I mean, I'm just saying Florida's going to beat Florida State, man, because until Florida State shows me anything after last year, I just can't pick Florida State. And Gus Malzahn in charge of the offense. I got to see it before I can believe any of this. So Long Island, South Florida, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Florida State, Tennessee. That's 6. They got to find a half from Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, or Miami, LSU. The swing game, I think, is Miami, right? You think they can beat Miami this year? I think Florida can beat Miami this year. The key is I don't really care that you're playing in Miami because
I think what you said. I mean, Florida could be. They could win 8, or they
right,
could, or they could be 4 and something. I mean,
right, exactly.
it's kind of a how far have they improved? Gained. It's gonna be an interesting year. That's gonna be another one I'm gonna enjoy watching this year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just why I have them at like a happy median. Um, I just kind of have them there. Moving on, I got South Carolina is the tricky team, man. 6.5 for South Carolina. Now, a lot of people have South Carolina as a playoff team this year, and very interesting. So you look at South Carolina's schedule: Virginia Tech, South Carolina State, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky. Very, very easily could say they could be 5-0 going into Baton Rouge, right? In October the 11th, they could be 5-0 going into Baton Rouge, and so let's just say that they lose to LSU. Then Oklahoma, it's in Columbia. Let's say they beat Columbia. That's 6-1. I don't think they beat Alabama in Columbia. That's 6-2. Ole Miss, it's in Oxford. 6-3. Texas A&M, it's in College Station. I don't trust Shane Beamer to get it done on a road game in College Station. 6-4. Coastal Carolina is the 7th win. I don't think they beat Clemson, but a lot of people say they do. So it's either 8-4, or there's your 6.5 right there. Apparently, Clemson is a really good team this year. I don't know. Lenore Sellers, man. Lenore Sellers, South Carolina. Could be interesting. Could be very interesting. What do you think about 6.5? Is there anybody in there you think? I mean, I think these toss-up games are like, can they beat Clemson in Columbia? Right. I think this is going to be one of Dabo's most talented teams in a long time. A lot of people are saying Clemson's picked to win the ACC this year. What do you think about, like, where is their other win? I mean, we said Virginia Tech. We feel like that if Virginia Tech grabs one off jump, 5-0 is doable. I think they lose to LSU. I think their up games is, can they get Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, or Clemson? Like, which one of those can they get, or can they get none of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Oklahoma's in Columbia. That might be the one.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't see them beating Alabama.
I don't
Ole
think they
Miss
beat
at Ole
A&M.
Miss. I can't see it. Lane's not going to let that happen, right? Right? Or maybe not. I mean, 5-3 last year. Maybe so. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm thinking it's Oklahoma. Thinking Clemson. I'm thinking Clemson grabs. I think they grabbed that last one right there. Very interesting though. What do you think about what do you think about Dabo this year? I mean, what do you think about hearing Clemson and what they got going on?
He's resilient, man. About the time you write him off, he's he comes bouncing back without his portal.
Do you think that's a little bit of like? I mean, we can't really. I mean, I don't think last year was. I think he was very smart about how he played that off. I think Dabo's totally in the portal. I just think that he's spending his money wisely. I'll give you an example. Lot of hype. Sorry, I'm trying to hook my computer up so it doesn't die. A lot of hype around the fact that Clemson has been known to use their money, portal money. I'm sorry, not their portal money, their NIL money on multiple different athletes that can play multiple sports. So, Klubnik was playing baseball as well. We know that Clemson's very competitive in baseball. Um, so Clemson's definitely getting uh, smart about how they're going about some of this. Would you agree? I
Yeah,
think
that's smart.
Dabo. I mean, they got to right. I mean, what kind of money is in Clemson, South Carolina?
Exactly.
Do you feel good about like? Remember the South Carolina days when it was the second, third game on the schedule for Georgia? Do you feel like that's like that South Carolina is back as far as like what to expect from them? I mean, a lot of hype around Lenore Sellers this year. A lot of hype around that kid. A lot of hype around the defensive line, who's one of the better defensive lines last year. Like, is this like can Shane Beamer like do the unbelievable? Can he go 5-0?
I don't
Can he
think
go to
so.
Baton Rouge and can he knock off LSU? I mean, Oklahoma. I mean, let's say Oklahoma is a win. They're getting Alabama in Columbia and could be sitting there at 6-1, waiting on Alabama. Now, those two games right there could decide a whole lot because if they look good against Alabama, they look good against Ole Miss. If they get one of them right, let's say they're 7-2. They're 7-2 going to Texas A&M, Coastal Carolina, and Clemson. And if they can get, they're going to get Coastal. They're 8-2. If they can get Texas A&M or Clemson, man, they're in the college football playoff.
It ain't gonna happen.
So it's 6.5 for me with a lot of possibilities that it could be. It's just kind of like Florida. It could be 9 or 10, right? I mean, this could easily be one of those teams. We can talk about the whys later because we're going to preview them. But next up, I got Ole Miss Ole Miss is merely off schedule, man. Schedule alone, man. How do you get this schedule? How do you get Georgia State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, LSU is in Oxford. That's a good thing. Washington State is in Oxford. You get Georgia and Athens, Oklahoma and Norman, South Carolina and Oxford, the Citadel, Florida and Oxford, Mississippi State. I mean, brother, if Ole Miss could ever rebuild this team that just lost 20 players to the NFL, this is the schedule you do it off, right? So Southern Miss, I mean, excuse me, Georgia State, I think, is a win. Kentucky's a win. Arkansas is a win. Tulane's a win. So you got LSU and Oxford, right? First big game on the schedule. Let's say they lose it, 4-1. Washington State, they just got depleted, man. You lose your offensive coordinator. You lose John Mateer. That's a loss for Washington State. So even if you lose to LSU, you're sitting there at 6-1. I think Georgia is revenge match, 6-2. Do you go to Norman? You get a win, 7-2. South Carolina, let's say you drop it, 7-3. I mean, even if you're 7-3, man, you're going to beat the Citadel 8-3. Probably got a good chance of beating Florida 9-3, and you get Mississippi State. You get 10 wins. I think this could be 7, but I also wonder how young is this team, and can those flip games? Flip games are going to be Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida, right? Big stretch, but you get 2 of them in Oxford. Do you agree or disagree? I mean, we just said we called possibly 10, and we also said I got them at 7.5. Personally, me, because I got them losing a couple of
Look,
those.
I think 7.5, and I think I like Kiffin. He entertains me, but when you look at what happened last year, man, Kiffin somehow can't get those guys to stay focused for the long term, and is that Kiffin? He seems like a guy that might have trouble focusing some.
Is it Kiffin or is it the game? Is it the game? I mean, I'm just seeing overall, it's getting harder and harder for college coaches to just entertain the likes of what am I supposed to be doing? I mean, they asked Josh Brooks, we're gonna cut off the over and unders for the night. That's half of them. We'll knock out the other half in the next show. But interesting question that Josh Brooks fielded about Kirby. He was asked, like, do you think that we may go the route of hiring some sort of general manager like some of these other teams, which Oklahoma, by the way, is one of those. I think the guy's name is Nagy. He's also in charge of the Senior Bowl. He is now the general manager for the Oklahoma football. So now Brent Venables has a guy that oversees all of the players in NIL, and I guess they do it together. Josh Brooks' answer was classic Josh Brooks and classic Georgia is, look, part of the reason why we land a lot of these great recruits, not only because of Kirby and his incredible staff, but it's Kirby. You know, he does a really great job with his staff seeking out hiring great talent, or sorry, well, I mean, it is hiring great talent, right? Finding great talent. And it's part of the dealings of dealing with Kirby one-on-one. You know, I remember Jared Curtis calling, and he tried to prank phone call Kirby on his commit day, but he couldn't do it because Kirby was so serious, man. It was like you could cut the, you couldn't have cut any of that. Matter of fact, I was trying to think of a good pun for that, but like you couldn't do it. Like Kirby was nails, and it's like you can't even call and kind of joke it up with him, which
Kirby's
to some
like
degree,
cutting frozen butter.
right? But to some degree, it's like that's fine. Why? Because the draft is selling. I mean, as much as Georgia's last 5-6 years, of SEC and national championships are selling Georgia at a high level. But not only that, we have a lot of teams that have made it through and won a national championship, but the consistency of those years where they didn't and continuing to put NFL talent out there in the first and second round has been the difference maker and why people still look at Georgia and go, I still think Georgia's it. You know?
I agree.
And let's be honest. Don't you think that some of these players that were drafted this year, no disrespect to some of our players in the past few years, but don't you think it's some of them just look and go, I'm gonna take my chance on a Georgia guy? But I don't know if let's just throw one out there. I don't know if Arian Smith is worth my 5th-round pick, right? I mean, would you? He's going to the Giants for a pretty decently lucrative contract. Do you think if Arian Smith was on Mississippi State's roster that he goes in the 5th round?
Did you see Chaz got a contract?
I didn't see that.
Um,
Where did Chaz go?
I think it was the New York Giants.
Really?
I just saw. Yeah, I hope that's
Is
right. What I saw.
is
I
Brian
watched some
DeBoll
of the
finally
game.
coming around and trying to go and look over to his east over there and go, man, Philadelphia's getting something right with signing some dogs. Maybe I need to sign some dogs.
But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Rich man, we're gonna have a lot of content for the rest of the summer. So that's half of our over and unders. I feel good about it. It's gonna be a really competitive SEC this year.
Dude, this is gonna
But
be a
we're really gonna get
fantastic deal.
into breaking each team down. Final question tonight, really quick though. I'm dying to know. What's your biggest off-season question mark right now? Like over the summer, it's the one that you continue to linger on this year, no matter what news you hear. What is your continuous lingering question that you are dying to see day one that we take the field um, against Marshall?
Offensive line, bro.
Yeah,
Offensive line play.
yeah.
That
That's your deep dying question.
consistent offensive line play. Because if we have consistent line play, Gunner's not going to have any problems.
Yeah,
And if we don't have consistent offensive line play, everybody's going to have problems.
right, right.
Is yeah, because the running back's going to get killed, the receivers aren't going to get the ball, and the defense is going to spend too much time on the field. That's the way I see it. Um,
Yeah,
I know we got a lot of talent, but it's unproven. And then the other thing is this coaching. We talked a lot about the schemes and what was lacking last year, and so are our tackles going to improve this year, and are we going to be able to fill the middle? And really, it's the guards, I guess, is the questions. Um, well, that and teamwork, you know.
right.
But yeah, I'm really that's it. That's the thing, man. I'm just waiting. I want to see that offensive line play because I think we've got all the pieces to the puzzle, but we need that to make it click.
Yeah, I agree, man. I would say you didn't steal mine. It's definitely in my top three questions. But I think for me, the biggest answer I want to know and want to see against Marshall right off the bat is, can we, this is probably crazy, right? But can we look at a defense that every year we always see a different playmaker here or there that we go, this was the guy that really carried the team. And we obviously look at Jalen Walker this year as that guy that's leaving. And then the year before that, you can name the players, but you look at KJ Bolden, you look at the productivity of losing Jalen, and you look at the definitely unthin linebacker room. And you know the names. I mean, you got the Chris Coles. Is this CJ's year to really step up? Things of that nature. But my burning question is this will be a tale of who's the guy this year, and can the defense constantly continue to recreate and be as good or better every year? Because in an injury depleted year last year, I feel like, and I think you would agree with this, that the defense, although they had their problems, they carried us through a lot of those injuries
Oh yeah,
throughout the year. They carried us through. I mean, the games where they stepped up, and when we went to Texas, when we played the SC championship versus Texas, those were two games that you can look back to. And yes, we had some letdowns against Alabama, but I do think the defense did a really good job up until um, at Alabama. The first three possessions, and then up until the last play before the last, where we let Ryan Williams go free. But I think you can look at the defense and go, how do we keep reloading, right? And there's so many names out there, and there's so many question marks, and there's so many freshmen that we want to see play. Is, can Georgia continue to reload on defense and be consistent every year? And we have an incredible I mean, we have a defensive staff that obviously could have 3 head coaches on it, right? Heard a lot about Dante. I've heard a lot about Shu, Brett, of Schumann. I mean, and obviously you look at Tavares King. I mean, I'm sorry, you look at T-Rob, Tavares Robinson. A lot of people talked about he's head coaching material, and then you got Kirby in
Right.
that defensive room, and you got Muschamp somewhere floating around. I don't know what Muschamp's role is anymore, but you got 4 or 5 names that could be head coaches over there. So my big burning question is can we continue to reload on defense, and if the offense can get to where we need to be, is this another you know national championship team? I think this is definitely another playoff team this year. But it's once again, it's like, is it good enough to get into the playoff and have a game like we had against
So
Notre Dame?
basically, what we're looking at here is we've recruited highly for the last I don't know how many years, and we've always been able to reload that defense. And so what we're looking at is if we reload this defense with stars and all the pieces of the puzzle we put together on the offense, yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely have a good shot at making the playoffs. But if this team hits on both offense and defense like we're talking about, it could possibly make a run all the way to the championship. And
I agree.
that would be that would be a lot of fun to talk about based on what you just the question you just posed because um, that that's all recruiting and coaching, you know.
Yeah,
And everybody out there every year they're like, oh, well, Georgia lost too many people. They're not going to be any good.
yeah,
And he's proved them wrong so many times. Now things have changed a little bit with the portal and with the NIL, but he's still able to do it to some degree.
yeah. I agree. And the hot take is that I haven't brought up yet is I continue to look at this year as Stetson Bennett was never supposed to be the guy at Georgia.
Right.
And if I could go back and be a fly on the wall to what interviews and conversations looked like when Stetson was coming into 2 years of back-to-back national championships, Gunner is, in my opinion, very similar in a lot of ways to Stetson. Very gutsy guy, very well known. He rooms with 4 football players. He's a UGA guy. I mean, Stetson left and came back to Georgia. He grew up in Georgia. He played in Pierce County. So I don't know, man. The stars are lining up, but we're going to call it for the night, though. So, Rich Man, it's been a pleasure. TikTok people, thanks for joining. If I didn't get a chance to say anything to you, we're working through some bugs and we're getting ready. We're all test driving all some of this new stuff, getting ready for the fall and the season to make sure everything's running on all 5 cylinders. We're on a 5th cylinder now. But for myself, for Rich Man Cohen, thanks to everybody joining. If you have not already done so, please go like and follow us. Facebook, Dogs Down South. YouTube, Dogs Down South. Please go follow and like us on YouTube. Trying to get to 1,000 followers over there, as well as TikTok. If you like the live, make sure you share it. Make sure you like it. Make sure you tell a friend. Make sure when you see us live that you hop on and check us out. And once again, thanks for joining. Everybody, as always, have a great night and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.